The office party was already alive with chatter when I walked in, but it felt as if the entire room swallowed its own noise the moment I stepped through the doorway. Something in the atmosphere felt off, dense, uneasy, like everyone else was aware of something I wasn't. My wife had been strangely distant all day, replying in clipped messages and dodging my calls. I figured she was just busy, but the instant I spotted her across the packed hall, my stomach tightened. She wasn't smiling the way she usually did at work events. The expression on her face was stiff, forced, and her eyes flicked nervously from side to side, as if she were waiting for someone, or hoping someone would disappear. I made my way toward her, weaving between groups of coworkers chatting over drinks. Yet with each step, the view sharpened. My wife was leaning against the bar table, trying to appear relaxed, but her posture was tight, her shoulders rigid, her body slightly angled away from the man beside her, her boss. He stood far too close. So close he didn't need to lean in to murmur near her ear. So close anyone watching might mistake them for a couple. His demeanor wasn't subtle. It was possessive, intentional, rehearsed. He wasn't speaking to her like an employee. He was speaking to her like she belonged to him. She flinched when he touched her arm the first time. Most people probably missed it amid the laughter, the music, the drinks. But I noticed, the tiny jolt in her body, the sharp breath she pulled in, the fake smile she forced on just to avoid drawing attention. And before I could reach them, he slid his hand onto the small of her back. No hesitation. No uncertainty. Not even the courtesy of pretending it was harmless. His hand rested there like it had been there before, inching downward little by little, testing how far he could push things before anyone stepped in. My wife went completely still. Her lips stretched into something that didn't resemble a smile at all. A few coworkers noticed. Some averted their eyes, pretending not to see, unwilling to get involved. Others murmured to each other, uneasy but unsure what to do. The entire room watched this man act like he owned her. And in that moment, I understood how long she might have been enduring this alone. How many parties, meetings, late hours she had faced where he stood too close, spoke too softly, touched too often, letting his hand wander far lower than any man has a right to without permission. Something inside me clicked. Not anger, not panic, something colder, sharper, controlled. I stepped forward deliberately, making sure he saw me approach. My wife looked up, her eyes flooding with relief. The kind someone feels when they finally break the surface after being underwater too long. Her boss finally registered my presence. But instead of stepping back, he smirked, keeping his hand exactly where it was, almost daring me to react. "So, you're the husband?" he said loudly, drawing out the word as if it were a joke, as if I were some inconvenience trespassing in his territory. He made no attempt to move away. No attempt to show respect. My wife whispered, "Please, let's just go home." Her voice trembled, with embarrassment, fear, and something deeper. Exhaustion. The kind that builds over weeks, maybe months. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't even look angry. I locked eyes with him and said, low and steady, slicing through the music, "Take your hand off my wife." The air around us seemed to thicken. People stopped mid-conversation. A few set their drinks down. Several paused mid-dance. The whole room tilted toward us, waiting to see what would happen next. He smirked again. The smirk of someone who's only brave because he thinks no one can challenge him. "Relax," he chuckled, leaving his hand where it was. "It's just a friendly touch. Don't be so insecure." My wife finally stepped away, practically wrenching herself out of his hold. But he just moved closer again, closing the space she'd created, trying to reclaim control in front of everyone. His eyes gleamed with the smugness of a man who had gotten away with this behavior for years. I stepped even closer, close enough that only he could clearly hear me, though every bystander strained to catch the words. "Touch her again," I said calmly, "and this will be the last office party you attend as an employee." For the first time, his smirk faltered. Uncertainty flickered across his face. But arrogance dies slowly. He tried to laugh it off, tried to turn it into a joke. "You think you can threaten me?" he scoffed. "In my office, Before he could finish, a voice behind him trembled into the air. He's not lying. A junior employee, barely 22, spoke up, her hands shaking around her drink, but her words steady. Then another voice joined. And another. Within seconds, a chorus rose. Employees finally releasing what they had held inside for years. Accounts of unwanted touching. Comments that cross lines. Late-night messages. Intimidation. Retaliation. The room didn't just fall quiet. It froze. His face drained as HR, who had been nearby, stepped in immediately. They asked him to step aside with them. He refused, then panicked, then scrambled to defend himself. But it was too late. His own staff, people who had kept quiet out of fear, were finally speaking, finally exposing the foundation of his entire career. Security arrived within minutes, and the man who strutted around the party like a king now looked like a ghost being escorted out of his own castle. My wife gripped my arm as we walked out together, her shoulders trembling with silent relief. She didn't speak for a long while. Then she whispered, "I didn't know how to make him stop." I looked at her and understood the weight she had been carrying alone. The stress, the fear, the forced silence created by power imbalances. She hadn't been able to fight him. Tonight wasn't about ego. It wasn't about pride. It was about protecting the woman I love from a predator who believed he was untouchable. But in the end, he wasn't untouchable. He wasn't strong. He wasn't invincible. All it took was one moment of exposure. One touch witnessed openly for his entire world to collapse. By morning, his suspension was announced. By afternoon, he was fired. By evening, everyone in the company knew the truth. He didn't fall because of me. He fell because of his own actions, his own violations, and the women he assumed would never speak.